Virtue, virtue, and virtue. Today we hear in the reading certainly the call of our conversion of our hearts. We hear in the Old Testament from the great prophet Ezekiel, and then in the Gospel, the Lord himself urging us to have tender hearts, not hearts of the world, not hardened by anger or despair or ruthlessness, but hearts tender and filled with love and mercy. Hearts that are human hearts, not hearts of the world. Today we celebrate one of the great saints in the life of the history of the church who can exemplify us, even intercede for us, as we too try to live that same life. It's a life I would encourage us to poverty, chastity, and obedience. Yes, St. Clare was a religious life, and with the assistance of St. Francis, founded the Poor Clares, one of the greatest and largest communities of religious in the history of the church. And for 800 years, she and Francis are role models to us of those simple virtues: poverty, chastity, and obedience. I know many of us, and I'm sure many of you, are kind of repelled a little bit, if not pulling back from the thought of those virtues. But in fact, some of you may even say, well, Father, I'm married, I have children to provide for. Some may say, Lord, the religious life is not for me. But is not poverty, chastity, and virtue the way to true happiness for all of us? I would propose maybe we reconsider how we already live that way of life and how that can deepen in us. Poverty. Many of you, by your circumstances of life, live on a limited or restricted income. Many of you survive on Social Security. Some of you are struggling under underemployment or unemployment. Some of you know that the burdens of an overwhelming, very expensive culture of life, a culture of the world, is a dominant reality for you. But you're living already a life of simplicity. Your heart may be striving for more, but St. Clare would remind us to accept that gift of poverty, and before our feet hit the ground in the morning, say, Lord, I make this a sacrifice to you to live this way more willingly. Chastity is a reality for many of us. Some of you I know are widow and widowers and lived already not only a chaste life, but a celibate life. Some of you who have spouses who are very gravely ill or infirm, or maybe in hospitals, nursing homes, facilities, you already live that way of life, a chaste life. And how many young people are striving to live chastely so that they too can live a pure life? The difference is simply, again, offer that way of life up to the Lord. Obedience is what we most cringe from. But what is obedience? To hear the way of the Lord and to resolve to follow it. It's not blind following through. It's not a voiceless response. It's saying, I hear the voice of the Lord and I follow it. St. Clare and St. Francis are the most known, probably the most influential saints, not only in the life of the church, but a life of the world. Let us ask today for that grace to have hearts that are full of love and mercy, hearts filled with happiness and love, for which the only way truly is through a simple, impoverished way of life, a life of chastity and celibacy, a life of true obedience.